We open on the first town meeting of the series. This is very much a setting which will become more reoccurring in the show. Basically, this is an opportunity for the residents of Stars Hollow to all meet up and discuss a particular event that's going to be occurring in the episode, as well as giving the more minor reoccurring characters an opportunity to show off their comedic potential. And in this case, it introduces us to the character of Taylor Dosey. Though he was in the previous episode, his role wasn't really that big enough to discuss there.
Had just about enough of this.
Sit down, Taylor.
Menace, suck up.
$5 if somebody ends up in a headlock. You're on.
Following on from the previous episode, we now get to see one of Stars Hollow's events actually be a plot point. In this case, we get to see the reenactment of the Battle of Stars Hollow. Now, despite its very impressive name, it wasn't a very particularly impressive event.
12 heroic men, assembled with guns drawn, waiting for the red coat.
Who never showed. 12 guys stood in a row all night waiting for an enemy that never showed. They got stood up. They should have been wearing prom dresses.
And just like before, Luke can't understand why the town celebrates such an embarrassing historical event.
Have any of you ever considered the fact that you're glorifying a war we fought so we could keep land that we stole?
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Your father was a reenactor.
Yes, and I thought he was crazy also.
Despite his demands for the town to see sense, the event naturally goes ahead. Lorelai is able to convince him that sometimes traditions don't have to make sense, but just have to bring positivity.
When I was 5, I had a really bad ear infection, so I wished really hard that something wonderful would happen to me. And I woke up the next morning, and it had snowed.
Parents never explained the concept of weather to you? Freaking fairy tale. Things sucked then, too. It just sucked without indoor plumbing.
I think some traditions are nice. When it snows, something inside me says, hey, that's your present.
This allows Luke to ease up somewhat and give the reenactors a peace offering.
No, thank you.
Harry, you're freezing. Take the damn coffee.
My father would have taken the coffee.
Well, all right then, thank you.
Despite his act of kindness, Luke is sadly witness to a sad revelation. As it turns out, there might be some truth to Lorelai's faith in snow, as not only does it prevent her from having to go to another tedious Friday night dinner, but also while during her walk in the hollow, she comes across none other than Max Medina, broken down. Despite not rescheduling their date, Lorelai's interest in Max certainly hasn't disappeared.
Lorelai, it's Max. Medina. Max Medina. Anyhow, as I sit here losing my faith in mankind, I wonder if we're ever going to actually go on that date we talked about.
However, thanks to this situation, they finally decide that this is the best time to actually start dating.
You know, a minute ago I was really angry about something, and now I just can't remember what it was.
Well, that's snow for you.
I guess so. So Rory's in Hartford,
Yes,
and I'm in Stars Hollow.
correct.
And you are?
Trying to figure out where I should take you.
They take this opportunity to get to know each other better, their romantic past, and this is one of the first instances we learn about Lorelai's ex-boyfriend and Rory's father, Christopher.
How are you?
Oh, I've never been married.
Ever been close?
Rory's dad proposed.
What happened?
The bell rang. I was late for chem lab. My life would have been completely different. You know, I wouldn't live here. I wouldn't work here. I wouldn't be walking here with you.
Lorelai and Max's date goes off pretty well.
It's important that you know my faults as well as my many attributes.
However, then we get to them returning home.
See, I have really strict rules about dating. I keep my personal life totally separate from my life with Rory.
This is something that you don't do often.
Ever.
Ever?
Never.
What if I promised you that if you let me in, all I'm expecting is a cup of coffee?
How badly do you want that coffee?
Not that badly.
Such a good answer.
Obviously not too worried. However, before they can partake in something I wouldn't be able to show you,
How many kids did you say you have?
One. Why? Lane!
We backtrack to earlier in the episode, where Lane is discussing her own romantic interests with Rory. However, due to Rory's life becoming ever more busy, with her obligations at her grandparents' house, going to Chilton, and of course Dean, Lane is unable to receive the support she feels that she needs.
Where were we?
I just met my soulmate.
Right, Rich Blumenfeld. Does he still wear the Star Trek shirt?
But I can't help it. I'm obsessed. Did I tell you about his hair?
It's on his head, right?
And so is unable to process her emotions regarding the boy she likes, leading her to do something pretty embarrassing.
You touched whose hair?
Rich Blumenfeld?
Why would you touch Rich Blumenfeld's hair?
Why would a sane person do a thing like that? Maybe I really needed someone to talk to about this and you weren't there.
This is very much a good opportunity to comment on and subvert Lane's role in the series, as up until this point, and for the most part, she's very much someone who reacts and provides exposition in regards to Rory and her main stories. And this is very much highlighting how she wants to have her own desires, her own feelings, and she's often overlooked due to the fact that she feels that Rory's the only one she can talk to, whereas Rory has a lot more people in her life and a lot more things that she feels like she's being rejected.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Be here.
Lane is probably one of the most underrated and underused characters in the show. Despite being present throughout the entire series and having a fairly prominent role, she often doesn't break from this character trope, despite their attempts to subvert it. Certain aspects of the story she ends up having get altered because of behind the scenes issues, and she often suffers because of it. I think with other characters, when they do it, they manage to break from their roles and become more independent. Sadly, in Lane's case, it's not always that easy. However, before we can wrap up this particular storyline, we have to discuss the fourth and final subplot of the episode, that being Rory being stuck at the grandparents'.
And these Friday dinners are the only proper food that child eats all week. I hate the damn snow.
Rory, are you in any way malnourished or in need of some international relief organization to recruit a celebrity to raise money on your account?
I'm good. So you're fine with having no dinner tonight, is that it?
I certainly am not.
So it's up to Rory.
Nothing.
Not a blessed thing.
Hey, there's frozen pizza.
How in the world did that get there?
Not their ideal idea of food, but they haven't got much options available.
Rory, that's food you eat at a carnival or in a Turkish prison.
What are the odds of you knowing where a cookie sheet would be?
I'd say very slim.
Rory decides to take this opportunity to explore her mother's old bedroom, where we get to see an old book and some photos she took with someone who is supposed to be Christopher, but is ultimately recast by the time he becomes an actual character. Richard and Emily seem to enjoy the peasant food that is oven pizza.
It's quite tasty. Emily, we should have this more often.
If you want to get really crazy, you can pick it up.
Well, all right. Here goes nothing.
And they even seem to be actually enjoying themselves for once and are relatively upbeat.
That is our wedding picture.
It's an amazing dress.
It should have been. My mother had 3 seamstresses working round the clock making it. Every young girl thinks about her wedding. I know I did.
You also knew that you wanted to marry Errol Flynn.
Really? Grandma had a thing for the pirate guy?
She even tried to get me to grow one of those little mustaches.
You're kidding.
Richard, stop.
That is until...
Mom looks really beautiful here.
That was her debutante gown for her coming out party.
Mom had a coming out party?
No, she didn't.
Which is a shame. It was nice to see them be in a position where they're a bit more likeable for most of the episode. With Rory stuck at her grandparents' house for the night, Lorelai and Max decide to hold off their night together in order to make sure that Lane is okay.
I can't ever go back to school. I'll have to be homeschooled. My mother finally gets her way.
Everybody does stupid things in high school. It's like a requirement.
Not like this.
No, some people get pregnant.
Lorelai is able to reassure Lane that she is someone that she'll be able to talk to if she needs it.
Tell me this. How did his hair feel? Good as it looked?
Better.
You're gonna be fine.
So who's the guy?
Rory's teacher.
Oh, he has nice hair.
While nothing between them happened, when Rory returns early in the morning, Lorelai has to rush and panic and explain the situation to her to make sure that Rory is not uncomfortable.
I've got a boy in the house.
You what?
Nothing happened, I swear. He slept the whole night on the couch, and you know him.
I do?
And you like him. I promised myself a long time ago that I was going to keep all this stuff separate from you, and I want you to know that that still stands.
You can, you know.
What?
Bring guys home. I mean, if you like someone, you should feel comfortable with doing that.
I appreciate that.
This is an opportunity to show that Lorelai's fears aren't irrational, and it is possible that Rory would have an issue with her dating someone, not just Max. What is an issue, though, is Rory resolving things with Lane and reassuring her that whatever happens, she's her best friend and will always put her first.
And I don't really fit in there. That's not true. You totally fit in. Yeah?
And so ends Love and War and Snow. This is one of the most feel-good episodes of the series, especially thanks to the sort of winter ambience and setting. It was good to see the characters, with the exception of Luke and Lane, be able to enjoy themselves more, and there isn't as much drama here. Particularly Richard and Emily being in a position where they're a lot more funny and a lot more likeable and aren't really villainized all that much. We also get to see how much the episodes are starting to flow into each other, as a lot of things set up in the previous episode now come to play here, like I said with the Stars Hollow and its seasonal events. Last week they played a fairly background role, now they're more prevalent. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please support the channel by hitting subscribe. Turn on notifications so you can stay up to date with the content I release. Be sure to like and comment. You can find and follow me on Twitter here, and I'll see you next time for Rory's Dance.
So how many times are you going to listen to that?
Till it stops being sexy.
Stop! That's my teacher you're talking about.
If it makes you feel any better, while he's being sexy, he's also being grammatically correct.
Better.